This time on Rat and Cat Search and Survival, the top survival stories from November 2020. Welcome to Rat and Cat Search and Survival. I'm Nakia. You can watch search and recovery stories, which tend to be more graphic, through my Patreon page. Those are stories of people who didn't make it out of the wilderness. But in this episode, we're looking at survival stories, stories of those who did make it out alive. There was more drama on Mount Rainier in November. The Muir snowfield is a beastly slog and common route to summit the mountain. Those hiking it can face extreme weather changes. The temperature can turn sub-freezing in under a minute, with clouds blowing in within seconds, and staying for hours or days, completely disorientating inexperienced climbers and hikers. That's what happened to a snowshoer on November 7 and 8. 45-year-old Michael Knapinski became separated from his group at 9,500 feet elevation. Night fell and the temperature dropped to 16 degrees, and 5 inches of snow fell through the night. The next day, a rescue helicopter located the man in the Nisqually River drainage on the west side of the river, a mile upstream from Glacier Bridge. He was airlifted to Harborview Medical Center in Seattle. However, shortly after reaching the emergency room, Knapinski's heart failed and he died. But in a dramatic turn of events, the medical team hooked up Knapinski to an extracorporeal membrane oxygenation machine, which pumped his blood out of his body and through a heart-lung machine to remove carbon dioxide from his blood. The machine then recirculated the blood back into Knapinski's body. 45 minutes later, the man's heart began beating again, and he slowly started to stabilize. 2 days later, Knapinski regained consciousness and asked to call his family. He continued to have some trouble with his heart, kidneys, and frostbite. The doctors believe he'll be okay. Knapinski's lucky though. In September, also on the Muir snowfield, 27-year-old Alex Fitzgerald and his 19-year-old climbing partner, a woman from Virginia, were overtaken by heavy precipitation, 100-mile-per-hour winds, and almost zero visibility. They had just climbed to Camp Muir and were returning down the Muir snowfield when Fitzgerald became disoriented and unresponsive in cold, whiteout conditions. The young woman finally had to leave him to get help. Rescue crews found her near the top of the Skyline Trail. About an hour later, the rescue team found Fitzgerald on the Muir snowfield, deceased. Conditions were too severe for a recovery operation that day, so park rangers returned the next day to recover the body. Fitzgerald marks the 7th death on Mount Rainier in 2020 and the 65th rescue operation on the mountain in 2020. North of Whitefish, Montana, in the King Creek drainage near Smith Lake, a father and son were hunting along a gated road when a grizzly bear charged out of heavy woods and attacked them. The two men were both mauled badly before they were able to shoot and kill the grizzly. Montana Fish, Wildlife, and Parks officials later investigated the scene and found a deer carcass the bear had cached in a heavy thicket near the attack. A teenager was surfing on the Armand Beach in Florida when a shark bit his leg. 17-year-old Jordan Hooper had just been knocked over by a wave and was swimming with his board when a 6 to 7 foot black-tipped shark bit through his back leg. He made it out of the water okay, but his injuries required 24 stitches. At least 10 people have been bitten by sharks in that region this year. North of Napa Valley, California, Jason Koch was looking for a missing drone just after dark when a large boulder he was standing on broke off and then rolled on top of him, pinning him to the ground. Barely able to move, he struggled to signal for help and free himself through the night before finally digging his way out. When he tried to stand and walk out, he began shaking violently and realized he was too injured to walk. Turns out he had 12 broken ribs and a torn aorta. Once free, he was able to reach his cell phone though and call for help. Koch's cell phone battery ran out just before being rescued, but a rescue helicopter was close enough to see him signaling with a flashlight. I recently interviewed Koch over Zoom. I'll put a link in the description below to that detailed interview. In the Gee-Debel countryside of Somaliland, camel herder Mohamed Saeed was tending his camels when a leopard attacked him and pinned him to the ground. Saeed was able to turn over the animal and said he poked it in the loin hard. The animal jumped up and ran into the woods. Saeed was bleeding profusely after the attack and was taken to a hospital several hours away. And some incredible footage came from a Royal Bengal tiger attack near Tezper, India. Several were injured in the attack, but one man will have a dramatic tale to tell as the tiger pounced on him. They both fell 15 feet in the drop. Fortunately, the tiger turned tail and fled. The survivor brushed himself off and walked away. In Indonesia, a man was harvesting palm oil when a crocodile attacked. 46-year-old Sulu Maralan suffered serious injuries when a croc latched onto his leg. During his fight with the crocodile, Maralan managed to poke the animal in its eye, and it immediately let go. What are some lessons that stand out from these stories? It may seem like an ordinary hike when you can drive up to a place like Mount Rainier, Mount Hood, Mount Washington, etc. But what many people don't understand is that when you set foot on mountains with higher elevations like these, it's like you're traveling into a whole new world. New rules apply. The weather can become deadly within seconds. One must be prepared for the worst possible scenario, and that means carrying a lot of gear and having navigational and survival skills. Hikers prepared only for a day hike are risking their lives. Multiple shark attacks happen every year. If you are swimming in shark-infested waters, wear a shark repellent device. Sharks are very sensitive to electrical currents. They hunt by detecting electrical current from the heartbeat of their prey. Magnets can repel sharks, and it's recently been discovered that rare earth elements like samarium interact with the saltwater and the shark's body to create a type of battery that actually overstimulates the shark's senses, literally shocking the shark if it gets too close. Commercial fishermen are using this tech to repel sharks from eating the fish off their lines. To protect yourself, you can buy bracelets made from these rare earth materials. There are also other devices available for use that use magnets. Grizzly bears are especially aggressive and territorial and can be on you within seconds. If you're in grizzly country, make a lot of noise so you don't surprise them, and keep your bear spray or firearm at the ready so you can access it instantly. To increase your chances of survival when hiking solo, use a rescue beacon and turn on the features that sends your waypoints to your emergency contact every hour or even every 10 minutes. Also, when hiking, consider turning off the security access on your phone and turning on your voice assistant. One reason Jason Cook couldn't call for help when pinned under the boulder is because even though he was finally able to reach his cell phone, he couldn't see the screen to unlock the phone or dial the number, and in trying to get it closer to his face, it slipped out of his grasp and slid a short distance away out of his reach. If he could have dialed using the voice assistant, he could have summoned help a lot sooner. What about you? What did you learn from these stories? Share your survival tips in the comments below. Until next time, I'm Nakia, and this is Rat and Cat Search and Survival. Get out there, be safe, and enjoy the wild.